Meeting will come to order. Madam Clerk, can you please read the roll?
Marco T. Camacho.
Here.
Lynn Underwood Segley.
Here.
John F. Flores.
Here.
Catherine E. Leonard.
Here.
Justin S. McLaughlin.
Here.
G. Marie Napolitano.
Here.
Naomi Neville.
Here.
There's a quorum present, Madam Chair.
Okay, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Has anyone signed up for the Citizens Forum?
Yes, we have Michael Smith to speak on tolls.
Okay, Mr. Smith, please. To the front. Could you repeat your name and address, please?
Michael Smith, 96 Rhode Island Ave, Newport. Good evening, everybody. Just a quick note, I'm asking for the council to consider a resolution against the tolls. Many cities across the state are enacting at least a resolution against the tolls because it will impact our community, especially Newport, and with the current situation where from a trucking standpoint, trucks that deliver, if you jog or if you go out every morning, you see all the trucks delivering products to our city. We're an island community. These tolls throughout the state and the tolls that we already have on the bridge, they're already there, but the further tolls will affect our city, whether it's groceries, whether it's products that we buy in the stores, and it will affect local trucking companies. These are not going to affect national trucking companies. We are not a drive-through state. So leading to this, it will turn into a car toll. We all know this. And somebody visiting Newport, they're going to be hit with up to 5 to 6 toll gantries before they even hit the Newport Bridge. So it's just a request as a citizen of Newport that you would consider a resolution against the governor's toll request. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Are there any others?
No. The consent calendar.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety with the exceptions of items 1A, 1C, 1E, 1F, and item C.
Second. There's a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Application for special event licenses, Friends of Ballard Park in the Ballard Park Quarry Meadow. 11th Annual Illuminated Garden.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve a waiver of ordinance 12-32-010, closing hours of parks, and approve.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Sky gazing evenings.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve a waiver of ordinance 12-32-010, closing hours of parks, and approve sky gazing events.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Music Month 2016 Concert Series.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve a waiver of ordinance 12-32-010, closing hours of parks, and approve Music Month 2016.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
And Movies on the Rocks.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to request a waiver of ordinance 12-32-010, closing hour of parks, and approve Movies on the Rocks.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Communication from Trudy Cox, CEO and Executive Director, Preservation Society of Newport
Yes.
County.
Councilor Segley?
Yes, I just want to make note, we received this communication describing the events for the Preservation Society's 70th anniversary that they just celebrated. And one of the things that kind of struck me is that there were 6,500 visits by Newport residents this past year. And I just wanted to note that and think that that's a wonderful thing that the citizens of Newport are taking advantage of our cultural institutions. Thank you.
Make a motion to receive.
Second.
There's a motion to receive and a second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Public hearing, entertainment license, new Class A indoors Cafe Zelda LLC.
Is there anybody here representing Cafe Zelda? Okay, this is a hearing. Is there anybody here to address the issue of their entertainment license?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to close the hearing and approve entertainment license for Cafe Zelda.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Public hearing, application for a new Class A indoor entertainment license, Ancient Order of Hibernians.
Is there anybody here representing Hibernians? Or want to address their entertainment license? It's for indoors, and this is the second hearing.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to close the public hearing and approve entertainment license for Ancient Order of Hibernians.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Appointments to boards and commissions.
Yes, I'd like to make the appointment of Henry Nistrin as the alternate subcommittee member to act as a representative for the City of Newport for contested cases before the CRMC. I move to appoint him.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Newport Film Commission. I make a motion to appoint Councilor Marco Camacho as the City Council liaison.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Finally, Energy and Environment. There is a vacancy. I make a motion to appoint Teresa Mason.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Resolution recognizing Laura Citron and Elizabeth Skepa.
Okay, we have resolutions, and if Finance Director and Elizabeth would like to come forward, I'd like to present them to you. And I am going to read them because I think it's important for the City of Newport, the citizens of Newport, to recognize the amount of work that is done by our finance department in helping not only the city, but the council look very good. Whereas the City of Newport is a member of the Government Finance Office Association of the United States, which is a nonprofit professional association serving approximately 16,000 government finance professionals. And whereas GFOA has advised the City of Newport, their organization has selected the city as the recipient of the Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for fiscal year 2015 for meeting the highest principles of government budgeting for the 10th consecutive year. Whereas concurrently, GFOA presents a certificate of recognition for budget preparation to individual departments or agencies designated by the recipient entity as primarily responsible for receiving the award. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Newport does hereby commend the Department of Finance, and most particularly Laura Citron, Director of Finance, and Elizabeth Skepa, Budget and Finance Analyst, for their superior performance and significant achievement in the attainment of this standard of excellence. Be it further resolved, the Council expresses sincere appreciation to the Finance Department and specifically to Ms. Citron and Skepa for their professionalism, outstanding service in their job performance, their dedication to the city, and recognition of their commitment to excellence on behalf of the citizens. A copy of this resolution, signed by me and the council, shall be countersigned by the city clerk and presented to Laura Citron and Elizabeth Skepa. Congratulations. I would just like to say personally, we are very, very lucky to have such a great finance department. They really cross their T's, dot their I's, and Newport has been served very well over the years, and it's a real compliment to Newport, but it's also a real credit to Newport that year in and year out, when you look across the state, you look across other states, and you see the problems they're having, and certainly our finance department is on top of things. So I'd like to say thank you on behalf of the council and the city. Okay.
Resolution regarding parking for residents during winter months.
Councilor Flores.
Sure, I'd like to make an amendment to omit Broadway as well as Thames Street from the list of streets that would be subject to this resolution. In addition, I would also like to extend this to March 31st and to be looked at as a one-time pilot program that we can reassess at the end of that period to determine if this is something that we want to continue in perpetuity.
Okay.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Discussion.
Madam Chair, what's the list of the roads? I don't see that on here.
I did send a link earlier, but I do have this. This is the additional list. And it's a pretty significant list, actually, that's outside of the business districts.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to receive the list.
Second.
There's a motion and a second to receive the list. Okay. Discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes, Counselor.
there may be people out there in the world wondering what the list consists of. And what it consists of are all the streets that are listing in Chapter 10.24 of our parking ordinance. 24.010, parking prohibited at all times in designated spaces, then .020, parking prohibited in certain places during certain hours, .030, special parking limits during certain hours on certain streets, and then .040, 1 hour parking, and then .050, 2, 3, and 4 hour parking. When you print it out, it comes to about 24 pages. But it's the ordinance. That's the list that we've just been given.
You know, I do have some concerns about this, certainly willing to discuss it. However, a lot of times, things sound great on the surface, and they have unintended consequences. I guess I'm a little confused in terms of, you know, what would be the purpose of this? Why, you know?
The purpose is very simple. It's really to give our residents a much-needed break during the coldest months of the year. Ideally, we're looking at January and February. Those are the coldest months, and they give a lot of people an inconvenience. And this is just a simple break that I want to give the residents, that I think the council should extend to all of the residents. It would only apply if you have a parking sticker, a local parking sticker. So that's really what it's about. It's, I get a lot of calls from constituents asking for something like this to be extended to them. It's very frustrating for a lot of people, especially our elderly, when they go downtown to park and now they have to get back to their parking space within a 2-hour limit. There's a lot of open space available during this time of the year. And that's something important to keep in mind. It's only January and February that we're looking at, ideally, for this. And the way I look at it, it's going to take a couple of readings for the ordinance to actually go into effect, and we're probably looking at late February. So essentially, we have about 30 days, about 1 month, to evaluate this, to determine if this is something that works, if this is something that won't work, or something that, you know, could possibly function with some minor adjustments. But it's 30 days, a period of 30 days is enough, and I think it's worth, you know, taking it on for the sake of our residents.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Counselor.
When I first read the resolution, it was unclear to me what was the intent. It doesn't specify 2 hours or 3 hours or 15 minutes or 1 hour. Since then, I have been informed the idea is to give residents a break if you're in a 2-hour spot. And it was going to be for January and February. Now it's increasing to also include March, but be a pilot. And, you know, I understand the idea about trying to, you know, kind of, I don't know, sort of help people or try to make something that seems popular. But our ordinances are in place over a fair amount of time to create consistency and understanding about our rules. We charge our businesses a higher tax rate than we charge our residents. And what we give back is movement in the parking spaces that are in front of their businesses. They're 2-hour spaces, they're 3-hour spaces. We try to keep the flow going. This also comes across a little bit as another example of a solution looking for a problem. I mean, I do know that we did receive about 2 weeks ago an email from someone who got a parking ticket and was upset that they did not realize that the hour restrictions didn't get waived as where the meters do get waived. But I don't believe that that's a huge outcry to suddenly sort of create an upheaval of our parking ordinance. I think there's many ramifications that just haven't really been thought through. The signage, how we enforce it, is it making it more confusing to sort of turn parking regulations on and off for different periods of the months? I think people would, by accident, even get more tickets. So I think that the bottom line is that I don't think this was a problem needing a solution. Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Counselor.
can I just ask a question so I can clarify? How does the library come in, the library parking lot come in or out of this discussion?
The library.
We could add the library to the list. Sure.
No, the reason I'm saying it, and I'm trying to sort it out in my head, I know that we get calls that people want to go to the library and they can't find parking, because that's an issue that's been going on for a short while here. And so how would that be affected as part of this, just so I can kind of get my head around it too?
Well, I don't have in front of me the restrictions in the library, though there are restrictions, there are timing restrictions in the library parking lot. I know what issue you're referring to, Kate, in terms of the availability of parking
Yeah,
spaces.
those are the calls I get.
Notwithstanding the timing. But we do, there is, in the library parking lot, I don't know whether it's a 2-hour or a 3-hour or 1-hour lot. I was just looking, I thought I had it with me, but I can't seem to put my finger on it. So I guess it would affect, I guess that's.
Can you
the
talk
idea.
into the mic, please? Sorry.
Sure.
Much better.
So it would affect it, at least the way the resolution is framed. But the issue, I know exactly what issue you're referring to. It's more, and we've had this discussion, I've
It's
had
the
this discussion with Justin as
availability
well.
issue, yeah.
It's the availability issue, whether you're parked there for 10 minutes or 2 hours. And I reckon, I know
Or
what
all
the issue
day.
is. I know what the problem is, too.
Thank you.
Madam Chair,
Yes,
as
Counselor?
long as we've got the city manager there, the thing that seems to be driving this is somebody got a parking ticket. There are, as I say, 24 pages, I think, of streets that have different levels of restriction on them.
Right.
Where do we actually go out and enforce the parking ordinance in the winter? I
Well,
mean, we
you know,
don't, the police aren't stopping and putting tickets on cars on these streets, is my understanding. We're only really enforcing this in certain parts of the city, is that correct?
I'd have to ask Gary, the chief, but I will tell you that, I mean, we do still have the enforcement officers in a limited capacity. We don't have as many as we have during the summer, but they're still on the street. I saw them on Spring Street, for example, Monday or Tuesday, writing a ticket. I mean, we do have instances of officers writing tickets on other streets, Bull Street, in terms of a yellow striping issue, and that comes to mind. But do we have the, and maybe I will speak for the chief, do we have the manpower, the concentrated manpower that we, or enforcement power that we have during the warmer months, the seasonal months on the street? No. I mean, it's obvious if you walk up and down Broadway, we don't, I actually see the same enforcement officer that all of you see all the time, the young lady that is scouring the neighborhood, as it were, in Courthouse Square, Broadway, the other side streets off of Washington Square, and the side streets, if you will, off of Washington Square and the like. But as to the rest of the city, I don't know. I don't see them. And maybe Gary, if you can sneak up here or jump me in. I don't see the enforcement officers on Bellevue. I saw a street by the name of Branch Street in here. I don't even know where it is. But Gary, if you could just perhaps indicate. Oh, gosh, you got all the experts here.
Good evening. This is Traffic Sergeant Jonathan Cortez, who manages the traffic aids. He has a good handle on everything that Joe was just speaking to. So rather than me speak for him, I'll just let him speak.
Good evening. In the winter months here, we only use less than a quarter of the amount of traffic aids that we use in our prime time in the summer season. We have maybe 7 or 8 that work part-time, and they primarily patrol the business areas, Broadway, Washington Square, Thames Street, Spring Street, Bellevue Avenue, the time parking. There's a time section on Mill Street. So we primarily do the business areas, and then they also look at other stuff, as the city manager said, yellow zone, stuff like that, too close to corner. But that's primarily what we look at in the winter with a very small crew.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
Sergeant Cortez, I had a question. When I originally read the resolution, I was wondering, maybe we shouldn't mess with, something that's taken years to, kind of put together. Then I thought about the Sunday game with the Patriots. It ran from 3 o'clock to 6:30 p.m. So if you were parked in the 2-hour zone, you have the potential of getting ticketed, as the law is written in that respect in certain places. I know there's a synergy here somewhere that maybe we can reach. There are times where, at night it's not an issue. A couple hours after 6 p.m., 7 p.m., depending on where you're at. The list is very long, like Councilor McLaughlin said, it's 24 pages. But is there? I hate saying, okay, well, we have a law, and then, in certain instances we waive it, because if it's a law that's not enforced and it's a suggestion, and we're not here to pass suggestions. But how do we do that? Let's say if we had people who came to watch the Patriots-Broncos game, went to a commercial establishment, went to a bar, had their car parked in a 2-hour zone, they stayed for 4 hours. That's good for business. We want people here in the winter, but guy comes out, gets a ticket, and goes, typical Newport, even in the dead of winter. I'm coming out here spending money, and I'm getting ticketed for it.
We void the
See what I'm
Patriot
saying?
tickets, and we make the Broncos pay.
If the traffic aide
Good
wasn't
attitude.
watching the Patriots game, we need a new one.
Yeah, I understand, but I'll just make a general statement to you. Your ordinances are your policies. Whatever policies you choose to put forth, we will enforce and we will honor. That's really the answer. So when you talk about synergies, this is a policy determination by the council. All the ordinances are your policies. So I don't know if the synergy, I don't know how to answer that question. The synergy is amongst all of you as to which policy you wish to put forward for the city.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor?
I actually researched this after talking with Councilor Camacho the other day, and most of the hour limits end at 6 o'clock.
That's correct.
But the point is, they end because they're in business zones. And I think to a large extent, the time limits were originally established to provide turnover within the business zones.
Right.
And, my concern is that if you, and I realize Councilor Flores has removed some streets, there's still the possibility for confusion, but the purpose of most of these, and you mentioned Mill Street, which is just off of Spring Street and part of the business zone parking, if you will. The design here is to create an opportunity for businesses to have customers come and go during the course of the day, and I can be sympathetic that somebody wants more than 2 hours to go to lunch, but, you know, in the world we live in, if you know you got 2 hours, you either go out and move it, or you finish lunch in 2 hours, so.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I
Counselor
just want to ask
Segley.
about the Mary Street parking lot and the Gateway parking lot during the winter. Are there parking restrictions?
No.
Are there time restrictions in the Mary Street parking lot and at the Gateway?
No, they're not.
Okay, so...
Beside the 24-hour ordinance that's
Right.
on the book.
Right, so people who are working in the shops could certainly, on James Street, could certainly park there for their shift.
That's correct.
time. Also, like, if we were to do this, I mean, what would the logistics be? I mean, we'd have to put signs up, right? I mean, we'd have to invest in
Well,
signage and...
No,
I mean,
I've
how do
thought
we do
about
this?
this a little bit, and I think it's somewhat of eating half the loaf of bread. I'm not going to suggest we re-sign or take down signs. Maybe there's some other creative method, but it's just going to be
You can't, though.
more of
have-
a, yeah, we would have to change the ordinances, we know that, because those are your policies. And then we'll just have to figure out in terms of the public relations campaign as to how we announce it. We can take, you know, I guess we could take the signs down, but that's manpower intensive. I don't think that's a good idea.
But you can't have a law that you don't post.
No, yeah, well, you can, but I understand.
You can have a law that you've posted that you don't enforce. though.
Right, that's right.
That's what you'd end up with.
That's right, that's right.
But you can, but say a resident,
If you want me
On
to say, I'll
April
put
2nd.
up a cloth over the signs, I'll do that.
say a
That's what you want me to
resident
say.
on April 2nd gets a ticket and says, well, I thought it was waived, and you say,
Right.
well, you're wrong. I mean, that's,
No, it's the ordinances that, it's not the sign, the signs follow the ordinance. It's the ordinances that control.
so you'd have to change the signage.
Well, in a perfect world, yes, but
Yeah.
I'm not going to suggest we do that.
Is it-
I'm going to.
Can I just point
if
out
you
one
get
more
to-
thing that we haven't talked about? In February, traditionally, we have Winter Festival for a week, In March, we have St. Patrick's Day. So I just, like I said, unintended consequences. And if, in fact, we remove Broadway and we remove Thames, I think the idea was to help residents, but then the businesses suffer. I can tell you, having an office at Brick Market, we went through it for years, where people would park in front all day long. That's why this is instituted in this manner. So I just,
I just have a question for Officer Cortez.
Sure.
Have you found that during previous winter festivals, that there's been a lack of parking with the influx of people coming in for the events?
I can't say I have. I've been in this position, this will be my second winter in this position. Last winter, I can't say that I did notice a lack of parking in the downtown area.
But the downtown is bustling during that time. I mean...
What
it
is-
was
the
20
downtown-
below last year.
Right, but the downtown tends to be bustling on weekends. I mean, they're...
Yeah.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Counselor.
I guess I think we have Restaurant Week in this time frame too, but I can't remember myself getting any calls complaining of tickets in the past. This is the first year, and I got 2 calls. So I guess my question is, did we just, as a city, not enforce it for these other years? I don't know if it's just, I just don't quite get it, to be honest. As far as I know, I never remember anybody saying I got a ticket in the winter. And I'm not, it has nothing to do with you, it's just that nobody has called me, and I would usually get calls, so I don't know if it's kind of a silent winter policy change or not, because I can tell you even in the summer, there are some streets that get ticketed and some that don't, so.
We're not, we don't have the same manpower during the winter months. That's one of the answers.
But I don't think we have big parking problems in the winter, do we? I mean, I haven't seen any. I mean, Lynn says that she sees it on certain streets. I know I've seen it on Broadway. That I've seen, because there are a lot more restaurants and people like to go to them. In regards to other streets, I personally haven't seen them. I don't know about the rest of you.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
Just sitting here thinking about it, and, from an ordinance standpoint and an enforcement standpoint, is there any mechanism, or I'm just throwing a wild idea out there, where you can actually have a methodology of, I don't want to say we don't enforce a law, but is there a law that maybe we can put, or an ordinance change that we can put in there, where we grant the city manager in that office's power to say, we have a parking holiday for this specific time frame, if it benefits us, if there's like a parking holiday, a restriction holiday,
I'm not gonna.
that your office could implement, or,
I don't think,
Is that
I don't think
overreaching?
that's a good idea. Again,
Okay.
your policies are found in your ordinances, they need to be definitive. I don't suggest you delegate that power to the Director of Public Safety. I can declare snow emergencies and snow bans, but, I can tell you, we'll probably argue over the holidays if you delegate it to me.
Well, I mean, this is one of the things I was thinking about from a public safety standpoint. If people are watching a football game like they were this past Sunday, they're parked in a 2-hour parking zone, and they're there for 3, 4, 5 hours, I'd much rather, had they been drinking, not to move their car and say, hey, you know what, we're kind of granting an amnesty here. St. Patrick's parade is always on a Saturday. If we want to let people park in a 2-hour spot all day without any kind of consequences, I'm not opposed to that. I think, our police are already spread thin, on the parade route anyway. Traffic enforcement on side streets or parking enforcement is maybe, maybe a distraction from bigger, more important things that we could be doing with crowd control. I'm just thinking about it in that context.
I would just like to point out, we do have an appeals process for parking tickets. You can write a letter, and I found the department very accommodating. There's been various reasons that perhaps somebody has gotten a ticket. So I think we have that process. I also think we have lots available. We have the Gateway, we have the Mary Street lot. I'm just, again, concerned about unintended consequences.
Sure, and,
Mayor?
go ahead, Nancy.
Yeah, I think just to follow up on that, I mean, I can think of the opposite scenarios. So you give a waiver on St. Patrick's Day, and then I guess, residents take up what should be spots that need to turn over, that, and then I don't know, I think you suddenly get vehicles that camp out in front of certain businesses because they're employees going to another business, and then, how do you get them to move? I don't know.
Sure, and up here, people have brought up some really good points on both sides, right? Marco's brought up some good points that support something like this happening, and other people have brought up concerns. And the reality is that it can go in any direction, right? And that's why we're trying it out for 30 days. And frankly, I don't see a harm in trying it out on a short-term basis. And at the end of the 30 days, make that determination. Is this something that we want to do next, continue for next January, next February? If it works and we don't see any drawbacks, then we are giving our residents a break. And I don't see an issue with trying it out for 30 days.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
I just have to say, from my perspective and what I've seen, and I'm on the streets a lot, I haven't seen tickets being given normally in the winter for a long time. Did we in the past, way before you, so I'll ask the chief, did we normally give tickets in the winter, or we just kind of put it in limbo? Because
we've
always done it for years.
We've always issued in the wintertime. I can tell you, I have a few more people on staff this winter, so there is a slight increase in tickets issued this winter as in years past because of a few extra bodies that I do have on the street.
How many do we have now versus, let's say, in the summer?
We have approximately 8 that work part-time right now. In the summertime, that is in the mid-20s.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
If we
Counselor.
remove, though, the business zone, as Council
I
Flores
know.
wants to
Whatever
do,
you
then
accomplish.
why do we need to do this? Because do you ticket outside of the business zone in the wintertime, unless you get a complaint about somebody parking illegally or something, you know?
Well, yes, while the traffic aids are out there, if they're walking down a particular street and on a side street, they see someone in the yellow zone, somebody parked too close to the corner, anything
Right,
that,
but I'm saying outside of the business zone, I mean, you know, how many tickets are actually given in the winter? I mean, it seems as though you're using your, the force to ticket in the business zones in order to keep the traffic moving for the businesses to be successful and to, you know, to have more customers, right?
that's correct. I don't have those exact figures.
If I may, just to clarify your question or your thought process. During the slower months, this time of year now, the emphasis is where the businesses are. That's where the turnover
Right.
is desired. So that's where we concentrate the limited resources that we have in those areas to enforce the ordinances so that there is turnover. It's not that we just
Right.
cherry pick as we see fit.
Madam Chair?
Yes,
I don't
Counselor.
know, if, next time, or maybe through an email or something, I'd like to know what we have for revenues for traffic, for parking tickets versus what we pay out for personnel to give them.
It's a good budget question.
I asked the question in terms of, I'm not going to be able to find the email right now, but
Yeah,
in terms of overtime for January and February, the amount of tickets we write, and at least my impression was,
You have to go to the mic.
I think my, when you have it? Just looking at some statistics that, why don't you, John,
For-
respond?
For January 2015 through February 2015, related strictly to overtime parking, there was 133 tickets issued during that time frame last year.
for what is it, $20?
Different amounts for, the amount due on those tickets would have been $4,350.
Okay.
I
now
can
what
tell
is-
you that this year, that number is significantly higher than 133.
And what is it, like, let's just say for the 4,350 for the tickets, what's it cost us to give those tickets? What are the staffing costs?
I would have to go back and figure that out for that time frame on what we had last year at that time frame. I don't have that figure
So
available.
I just want to get clarification because I don't think the question was directly answered. It was alluded to, but are you saying that there were outside of the business zones, there were no tickets given whatsoever?
Oh, there was many more tickets given. I'm
Okay.
just giving you those
Sure,
figures.
but that was
for-
the focus. That
for-
was the primary focus on those main thoroughfares.
Correct.
But
This is
there were
strictly
tickets.
overtime,
Yeah.
any type of overtime complaints.
Yeah, let's be very clear on that. This is overtime specific that we're talking about right now. And there are 6 categories? There's 6 categories that go into the overtime data, whether it be at a meter, whether it be a 2-hour, 24-hour, 30 minutes. So there's 6 separate categories that are rolled into overtime parking violations, just to let you know that.
Madam Chair?
Just to
Hey,
follow
Counselor.
up on, back to the signage question.
Yeah.
With the idea of a pilot. I don't see how you can change the ordinance and expect people to understand it or legally uphold it if it's just a word of mouth. You can't do that. You have to change the signage.
Well, upholding it is, we're not upholding anything. We're not enforcing.
But if
We're not-
someone gets a ticket
well, they're not going to write the tickets. The orders.
on April
if you-
2nd,
if
they
you
will
cha-
write a ticket and someone will go and appeal it
If you
and
change the
say,
ordinance, right, April 2nd.
it's
right.
not,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? It's going to make a mess if we don't do it properly. And that's a huge expense to change the signage. And I just,
Did I understand that it's resident only?
yes, for 3 months.
You have a
So
stick-
that puts another burden on the people, the traffic aides, to check to see if there's a resident sticker.
You can only
When we have emergency situations, when it's snowing, and we hear in the press that 15 streets are off limits to parking, there's no new signage that gets,
They're all posted. Those streets
Yeah,
are
they're
posted.
posted.
but the
Saying
majority of the
emergency
word gets out from the media,
They
from
are legally
memos.
posted. You drive down the street, and there's a sign that said, "This road is an emergency zone."
Snow route.
Yeah.
Snow
But
route.
it's not a requirement.
You have
Yes,
to
it
move
is.
it
So,
when,
but Joe's telling me, we're hearing two different things, because what Joe, you're saying is that if we were to implement this policy, modify the ordinance, that you're saying we would not need new signage. Is that
I'm
correct?
telling you, I'm telling you
It's not legal.
what I'm telling all of you is the ordinances are the enforcement mechanism. If there were no signs there, we'd probably have a problem, but there are signs there. It becomes cumbersome. With the signs there, it becomes cumbersome. I'm just reflecting to all of you what your policy is contained in the ordinance. It's reflected on the signs, but your policies are the written ordinances, and I think you all understand that.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor. And then I'm going to have Counselor,
You know,
Flores,
I'm not going to
restate.
suggest we put the shroud of something over each sign. It's an issue.
okay,
You know.
yeah.
But I can tell you one thing, if we change the ordinances, the enforcement officers and the police are not going to be writing tickets for those months. That's all.
Yes,
I'm
Counselor.
looking at this, and I'm saying to myself, what I have seen personally is that there's parking all over the place, maybe except for Broadway at night when the restaurants are there, and it wouldn't count anyway. And I'm going to say that if 2015 was an example, that the revenues were $4,350, I'm going to almost bet you it cost us $10,000 to bring in the $4,350.
No.
Which to me is honestly kind of dingy. So I don't know why we give tickets in the winter. A lot of resort towns don't because they're empty and we want people to come. So I just would rather not give tickets in the winter.
Can you restate your motion, please?
Sure. Three things. One, to omit Thames Street and Broadway, to omit the library, and also to initially just explore this as a 1-month pilot program from the time the ordinance is approved in late February through
We will have.
March 31st.
Okay, is there a
Rechange the
Yeah,
ordinance.
sorry.
second to the motion with those amendments?
I'll second the purpose of discussion.
Second.
Go ahead.
we just had discussion.
Yeah, we just
Okay.
discussed.
Okay.
Just vote on it.
Does anyone?
Is
That's
there,
Dr. Mike.
okay. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Joe, I'm going to try to put this in simplest form possible. I heard Councilor Flores, Councilor Neville. From what I heard from that argument about emergency routes, snow routes, it sounded to me like they were both right. There's only a parking ban when we have to institute a parking ban, correct? If it's flurries, we don't need to put in a parking ban because of snow removal.
Yeah, I mean.
But if there's a storm like this past Sunday,
Sure.
and we use the code red, we did that.
Right.
What I'm wondering, and I'm trying to reach a compromise solution here that's maybe good for business and residents, to where you or your office or this council in whatever mechanism, because I know we're going to have to change a resolution to make it happen, would actually have the power to say, in very much the same way we say you can't park on these streets during a storm, you can, citizens of Newport, overstay the 2 hours during what we consider a special event where parking could be a challenge, like on a St. Patrick's Day parade, where people will be parked from 8 a.m. until hopefully they won't even move their cars because they've been drinking too much. Or like this past Sunday, because we had the championship game with the Pats, it's okay to leave your car there. I think that there's a balance here. I don't know if we can answer it today. I almost want to say, I want to refer this to you and make you write up a memorandum or something on it. You're looking at me like.
You know, I think that the resolution speaks for itself. I understand where, in all due respect, I understand where you're coming from in an attempt to compromise. But I just don't, it just doesn't, as an attorney, as the manager, as the director of public safety, it doesn't seem to pass the test, pass the smell test. So we deal with these ordinances. They are time tested, And if you want to tweak them, that's fine, but tweak them within that box. I'm not gonna suggest just for something like this that we get off into a whole species of things in which you're delegating certain issues to the manager's office, and I'll just call up Gary and say, well, what do you think about this? And don't write any tickets. Well, we should write tickets. Maybe we shouldn't write tickets. I don't want to get into that. This stuff has got, there's too much of a chain of command from me through Gary, through his captains, through his lieutenants, through his sergeants, to the troops on the ground, as it were, to have that type of circumstance. It's got to be direct. Enforcement has to be direct. The language has to be direct. So, but if you're going to wait, so if we're going to change it, let's change the directness of it.
Any other discussion? Are we ready to vote? All in favor of the motion? Raise your right hand. All opposed? Motion fails. Thank you.
Second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 10.20.130.
Yes, this is an ordinance that is in regard to snow removal. The Director of Public Safety authorized to eliminate all parking of automobiles on certain streets for limited periods during snowstorms and cleanup only. They are adding Annandale, Bliss Road, Bedlow Avenue, Coggeshall Avenue, East Bowery Street, Farewell Street, Gibbs Avenue, Gould Street, K Street, Powell Avenue, 3rd Street, Warner Street, Washington Street, West Narragansett Avenue, and William Street. I move passage.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion?
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor.
I want to take advantage of this opportunity to ask the city manager about his experience last weekend, because we imposed this ban. But what I was really impressed by is it was for 10 hours, from 10 o'clock at night to 8 o'clock in the morning. And it seemed to be almost much more surgically done than sometimes in the past. How did that work out?
Well, it actually worked out quite well, but we had a very intense discussion, myself and Bill Riccio and Gary Silva, about the times. The thought process was that Saturday night we wanted to be, particularly in light of the meeting we had on Broadway, to be sympathetic to the business community. And Bill Riccio thought that if we could get the cars out of there and his crews could come in there late, that we could go curb to curb easy without usurping some of these, undermining some of these businesses. And that was the idea. I thought it worked out quite well. And I made a point Sunday, of course, the beautiful Sunday helped us out with the sunshine, but I got down on Broadway early, and I thought the crew, Bill Riccio and his crew, did a great job. They really did a nice job around the city, and but it was with the idea that we wanted to be sympathetic to a Saturday night in Newport.
I asked the question because I think there are citizens who may be concerned about what the impact would be, but I think we demonstrated this past weekend that it's not going to be for a long period of time. It's going to be for as much time as you need to get the snow
Right.
off the streets.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor. Yes. Okay, we ready to vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
6-1.
Kate? Okay. 6-1, I'm sorry.
Second reading of an ordinance amending Chapter 10.24.020, parking prohibited in certain places during certain hours.
Yes, this is an ordinance that prohibits parking or adding Weaver Avenue, beginning at a point of 250 feet west of Middleton Avenue, proceeding westerly for a distance of 25 feet between 8 and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. I move passage.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion. Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Action number 5489.
Madam Chair, administration recommends the award of a contract for strategic planning and goal-setting facilitation to the firm of Management Partners for an amount not to exceed $39,990. Funding for this project will be provided by transfer from council contingency and requires additional appropriation. I move approval of accompanying resolution.
Second.
There's a motion and second. Discussion.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Counselor Leonard. Is it Leonard? Yes.
I personally don't really, I believe in strategic planning, goal setting, and so forth, but I don't know why we are paying $40,000 to a Cincinnati company when we have the military people here who have always accommodated the city in terms of offering us services for goal setting and strategic planning. And at that base that is highly looked at by people all over the place, we have people at that base that really run mini cities or bigger cities, because a lot of these bases are. I don't know why we don't use somebody here, and it's really a gift or a benefit from having the Navy here, rather than getting a company from Cincinnati. So,
Okay.
we've used them before, it worked out well, and I just think that we should continue to do so.
Any other discussion?
Madam
Councilor
Chair.
McLaughlin.
I was part of the subcommittee that made this recommendation, and the aspect of the proposal that we're accepting tonight was the amount of effort that this consultant proposed to put into gathering community input. They want to spend over half the budget for this project doing a SWOT analysis, working with the council, but working with the community. And the other applicants did not emphasize the community component of this project as much as this company did. And that's the thing that really swung me over, because the others were less expensive, but they were saving money by not investing as much money in the community. And they also were going to take a longer period of time. So this isn't something that's going to happen in 5 weeks. It's going to happen more like 4 to 5 months. And I think that's going to be a mature process, which will provide ample opportunity for many people in the community to participate in the process. And I look forward to a good outcome.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Councilor.
And I'm not saying that, and when we've done it before with the help from the Navy as facilitators, that was open, the public came, people came, it was advertised, so I'm not supporting this.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6-1.
Action number 5490.
Madam Chair, Department of Utilities Water Pollution Control Division staff recommends the award of Amendment Number 1 in accordance with Section 10 Supplemental Agreements of Contract Number 16-008 with Kleinfelder for engineering services for improvements to the Ruggles Avenue Deep Sewer for an amount not to exceed $73,060. Funding for this project will be provided from the Water Pollution Control Enterprise Fund for capital improvements. It is currently budgeted. I move approval of accompanying resolution.
Second.
There's a motion and second discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adjourn as council and convene as Board of License Commissioners.
Second.
There's a motion, second discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to approve the consent calendar in its entirety.
Second.
There's a motion and second discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
There's a motion and second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.